Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, ET Now's daily initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the only daily MSME platform, a show where you can voice your concerns and get answers to every aspect of your business. We're talking all things real estate today, and I'm in conversation with the MD of the Lodha Group, Abhishek Lodha. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. I want to start by talking about the plethora of changes that the real estate industry is seeing and is going to see going forward over the immediate short term. Let's start by talking about GST. How much of a game changer is that going to be? And I'd really like for you to talk to our viewers, to MSMEs and entrepreneurs, and talk about how they can go about becoming GST ready.
Firstly, hello to all the viewers of ET Now, and I'm glad to be with you on this program. India is going through a lot of change, and when one talks about MSMEs, they are the real job creators of this country. More than 70% of the jobs in this country are in the MSME sector, and therefore the strengthening of the MSME sector is very important for the overall development of the economy. The changes that the country is and the leadership of the country is trying to bring about are around making the whole country more transparent and organized. And I think it's very important for the MSME sector to join this rather than struggle against it. The GST bill is just one example where the government wants all of us to be transparent, have everything, for example, in this case on our books, and take advantage for those who do business transparently. So I would say, as a general advice for the MSMEs and entrepreneurs who are watching this program, we have to embrace the new India, which is an India where things are going to be done transparently. Jugaad will be about making sure that we innovate as compared to we hide or do things below the radar. And we have to change our mindset on innovation. And if we accept that mindset, then it's very much possible to benefit from these changes. For example, GST, which is likely to be implemented in the course of 2017, will provide a great opportunities for those who are prepared to embrace it to become much bigger in scale, because you will be able to showcase your efficiency by making sure you get the advantage of all the cascading taxes, and therefore become more competitive in the marketplace both in India and outside.
Okay, you were saying innovation, and innovation is something that we talk about very often in the Leaders of Tomorrow. I'll come to that in just a bit, but I want to talk about a common concern that a lot of MSMEs tell us, as part of a call-in show that we do on the Leaders of Tomorrow, where they say that they're concerned that GST is going to necessarily mean higher costs for the MSMEs. Would you say that's a valid concern?
GST will change things. I don't think that the idea of the government is to keep this revenue neutral. So in the sense, the government wants to make sure that the rates for most industries are such that they collect the same amount of tax that they used to collect historically. The distribution of taxes will change. So there will be some players who were paying no taxes who will start paying some taxes, and those who were taxed very heavily, and they will start paying some lower taxes. So there will be an increase in the process and the cost of compliance. You will have to maintain your records, you will have to take credit for the inputs that you are purchasing, and overall it will lead to the same factor as demonetization, where more and more of the economy will be done in the formal sector, as we say, in white, as compared to off the books or in black. And overall, however, we think that after an initial period of some inflation, means some higher costs, this will settle down as the entire chain starts giving you credit for the tax benefits that they get. So I don't think that after 12 to 24 months you will experience any higher costs, or there will be a lack of competitiveness on account of GST.
Okay, I want to talk about FDI. Now, when we talk FDI, I do know that a real estate, giant like yourself is in a good position to possibly attract FDI. But FDI, do you think the benefit of that can be felt at the bottom end of the pyramid for MSMEs? Do you think they're really in a position to be able to compete with larger peers and compete effectively to attract FDI?
Let me answer this question by telling you a little bit about our growth as a company. In 2003-04, as a company, our turnover was about 50 crores, and we had about 40-50 people. In 10 years, from 2004 to 2014-15, our turnover went up to 7,500 crores, and we grew from 50 people to 4,000 people. And in this process, the only thing I'm trying to highlight is that an MSME is the corporate and the big giant of tomorrow. and it's very much possible if you understand how business creates value to benefit in that journey, because those foreign investors are looking for who, on what trajectory are you, what path are you. They are not concerned if you're small today. They are also not concerned if you're very big and going down. What they want to see is that if you're small, medium sized, but your trajectory is right, your aspirations are to grow big, you have the ability to attract talent, you do business in a transparent way and are happy to share the upsides with your partners, and then FDI will come in. So the first FDI we got as a company was in 2006, when our turnover was only 200 crores. And at that point in time, JP Morgan invested about $200 million with us. So yes, FDI is possible to get for medium-sized businesses which are, aiming to grow big and have the mindset to grow big.
Okay, I'm sure our viewers will be very happy to hear that, they're not really going to lose out the game when it comes to valuations as part of FDI. Let's also talk about one big change that's going to come in for the real estate space, which is RERA. A lot of real estate developers over the past 1 or 2 months have been telling the Times Network that they're looking at discounts as they gear up for RERA. What in your mind is going to be the biggest change out of RERA, and how should MSME real estate players really gear up for these changes?
I think, like I mentioned at the start, the trend is the same.
Okay.
It's about a trend of becoming more organized, more transparent and more reliable. So RERA as a framework of law puts out a greater onus of transparency and delivery onto real estate developers. So what is going to happen as a consequence, in our opinion? We think that a lot of the developers who sort of don't really focus on their business or extend their delivery timelines very long or don't care about the customers will go out. And it doesn't matter if you're a small, medium or large company. It will affect all equally depending on your outlook and your way of doing things. Equally small, it will give a great opportunity for new companies in the sector, smaller and medium companies, as well as large corporates who want to do business in a credible way to grow a lot, because a lot of the competition will disappear. Over the next 2-3 years, I think about 50% of the companies which are doing real estate currently will no longer be doing real estate, because they'll decide it's enough, don't want to do this business anymore. And there will be a shift in the sector where the sector will shift towards organized, more credible players regardless of size. So if you know your niche, you know the particular area where your reputation can be built, and you want to deliver well, then RERA will also help you gain market share.
Since you're talking about interest rates, I want to talk about MCLR. The government introduced it last year. Has it had a real benefit as far as the buying power of consumers is concerned?
Yeah, I think MCLR is definitely something that the Reserve Bank has taken a very positive step, because it gives transparency again in how rates are calculated, because it used to be very opaque. And the RBI used to cut rates, but banks would not pass it on and so forth. So what has happened now is that you had demonetization, a lot of money came into the banks, and you saw on 31st of December that a host of banks cut their MCLR, and home loan rates, for example, have fallen drastically. The lowest home loan available in the market as on 31st of December was 9.15% from State Bank of India. Today Bank of Baroda is at 8.35%. So interest rates have fallen by 0.8%, but more importantly, EMIs have fallen by 9%. So, the MCLR helps because every month they have to calculate their cost of funds and then pass on any benefit to the consumer. Of course, if rates go up, the consumer will also get hit, but at least it's transparent and the transmission is rapid.
Okay, you definitely have figures at the back of your hand. Let's talk, we were talking about FDI earlier, so I just want to continue talking about fundraising and just a little more. Bank lending in 2016 and towards the end of 2015 had hit a bit of a slowdown, given that NPAs were almost at a decade high. Have things changed on the ground?
I think the nationalized banks are still grappling with the issue on NPAs, and I think the last 2 months demonetization has taken a lot of their bandwidth. So I don't think lending is up. Actually, if you see the figures, lending was the lowest, credit growth was the lowest ever in the last 50 years in the month of November 2016. So I think yes, there is an issue around the fact that banks today are caught up with a lot of legacy issues, especially around NPAs, and therefore they are taking some big sectoral calls. They don't want to lend to X, they want to lend to Y, without necessarily assessing the credit profile of each developer, of each company on its merit. But I think there is a solution to that. The banking sector is getting more and more competitive. You have the large banks, you have the private banks, you now have the smaller new banks which have been given licenses, and therefore you will see that if you build a robust business, you can showcase your profitability on your balance sheet, then over time one or the other bank is going to need your business. So lending is not about your need for money, it is also the bank's need to do business, because the only way they will get out of the NPA hole is when they lend to good borrowers who pay them a good return in terms of interest rate, and therefore they make profits. So it's a two-way equation, and surely you will find if you have a good company, well run and good balance sheet, then you will get lending options.
Okay, I was talking about the call-in show that we have on the Leaders of Tomorrow. Almost 80 to 90% of the questions that we get from entrepreneurs across the board is, how do I raise funds? So you're essentially telling the real estate MSMEs who are watching our show, don't worry, put your books in order, ensure that you have a good clean business, and the money will definitely come.
Yeah, I think that's true for real estate MSMEs. Is true for actually all parts, all sectors and all industries. And I think GST, RERA, demonetization are all in the same, because your balance sheet is going to become bigger. Hopefully 100% of your turnover and 100% of your profits will be shown on your balance sheet, and that gives the bank more comfort. There is nothing to hide.
All right, let me take a very quick break at this point, but we will continue talking about the real estate space on the other side. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. With us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, and we're talking all things real estate in conversation with Abhishek Lodha. Let's talk about your own personal journey as an entrepreneur, as a business leader. What has been perhaps the biggest challenge that you faced in your own corporate life, and what has been the learning from that, and therefore your advice from our viewers based on that?
I wouldn't say a challenge, but I would say the biggest learning has been around the fact that talent is extremely important to build any business of scale and sustainability. And my advice to all my MSME friends would be that think about how do you create an environment where good talent who's professional, they are not business owners, would want to work with you. They want to see transparency and truth coming from the promoter. They want to see that the promoter is hardworking and completely committed to his business, and they want to participate in the growth of the business by making sure that if they create value, they will get a share of the value. A lot of MSMEs, don't value this enough, and they think that just themselves or their family members will be enough to keep growing the business, and I think that's a fallacy. I think if you look at across the globe, it's important for companies who have growth aspirations to play a great emphasis on talent attraction, talent retention, talent growth. And if you're able to do that, then I think the opportunities before you will be much bigger.
Okay, but I want to probe you just a little more and ask you about any one piece of advice that you've perhaps received in your professional career that has just changed the way that you approach a particular problem, or you approach just any aspect of your work.
That's a interesting question. I think advice is, a lot of well-wishers and elders provide advice. But I think the best advice that influences me came from my grandfather when I was very young, and so he was a noted jurist. He was a judge and then a member of parliament. And so he said the secret of his success, and he said therefore all of you, my children and grandchildren, should follow it, is dress well, dash well, and address well. So basically, he said the success is you have to dash well, in the sense you have to be hardworking. You always have to be ready to take any challenge or opportunity which comes your way. But along with that, communication is very important. Address well, and then dress well, because yes, how you look and how you appear is how people first start perceiving you.
Wow, that's very interesting. Let's also talk about technology, and I want to take a slightly big picture view now of the real estate space and talk about technology. Technology is undoubtedly having an impact across industries. Specifically in real estate, how does one use technology?
I think technology is a game changer across industries, and real estate is an industry which has not yet taken full benefit of the power that technology brings. Very recently, actually earlier this week, Lodha announced its first startup fund, where we are going to help startups who are focused on the real estate space and the smart city space to grow up, and for them to scale up their businesses. We'll provide them with capital, mentorship, as well as opportunities to do business with us, and of course help them grow outside. And we think that there is a lot that technology can help. That are very basic. So you have your accounting and your CRM, which is your customer relationship, on some kind of software platform. But I think beyond that, there are very large interventions, both on the delivery, construction side, material management side, as well as the marketing side, consumer relationship management side, and extracting life cycle value which technology can bring. And I think there's a very underserved space right now, and there is a lot more, I think, which will happen in the real estate space over the next 3 years when it comes to using technology to develop your business and to gain a competitive advantage.
Okay, I was just going to come to, in fact, the fund that you've set up for startups and ask you whether you think it's crucial for companies like yourself, large peers which exist in the space to necessarily work with startups, whether it's within their own company, encourage employees to think like startups, innovate, come up with innovative solutions, or whether they're outside in the market like what you're doing.
Absolutely. I think the young in India and across the globe are driving so much change, and they are the future consumer, they are the future leaders of the country. And I think it's very energetic to engage with them, talk to them, listen to their ideas, see how they're thinking of the same thing very differently. So I think I would encourage, whether you're investing or not investing, just spending time with these guys, listening to what they have to say and thinking of their ideas, guiding them, mentoring them. I think it's very important, and it's also very fulfilling and also enriching. You learn a lot.
Okay, you were talking about innovation, in fact, as we started this interview. How does one innovate in the real estate space? If you had 1 or 2 tips that you could give MSMEs about how they should and can be innovating in the space.
I guess innovation, in a very big way, real estate is a business which has been around for at least 2 or 3 centuries. It's ultimately the business of building a house or a dwelling unit or an office or whatever the case may be. However, on the construction side today, there is a huge amount of innovation which is happening. You have a lot of stuff which is happening prefabricated when you do things in factories, and you come and install them largely on site, so that the on-site works are lower and the work can be done faster. So that is clearly one very significant area of innovation. The other area of innovation which is important for real estate companies is in making sure that they can track their people and the activities that they are engaging in, and you have a lot of technology solutions which help you understand what each of your people are doing. So they are just a couple of examples, but I think technology, while the business is old, I think technology can help you make a meaningful amount of innovation in this business.
Okay. We talk to business leaders and entrepreneurs across industries which are in very fragmented markets. Yours is one such industry. What advice do you have for our viewers and our MSMEs about how they can stand out in a very competitive market? How do you go about building a USP? How do you go about identifying a USP, and how do you build on that and ensure that you're standing out in what is a crowded market?
I think the answers are simple. The process is long, difficult and challenging, but it's definitely possible, and it is starts with thinking like the consumer. See, every developer, every real estate player is also a consumer of real estate. So think about what you would want when you are out to buy, and if you can position your company to deliver on those, whether it's transparency, timely delivery, good quality, good design, being upfront about any issues that you may be facing, or so on, good consumer relationships, being able to help consumers when they are facing genuine issues or trouble. These are the things that you would want as a consumer, and that's what every consumer wants from you. So the way to stand out is, while this is very simple, very few companies are able to deliver against it. So as much of you can adopt that from what you really think the consumer wants, that is what will make the company stand out.
Let's talk about succession planning, because a lot of India Inc.'s biggest names and best known players really are under the radar in some sense when it comes to succession planning. And I really want to ask you, what in your opinion a good succession plan should look like? Any 1 or 2 tips that you have for our viewers?
I think it's true across the globe. Business has to be run on merit, not on blood. And it's a very difficult decision for a lot of people to make. because differentiating between who is meritorious versus who is in position because he happens to be your relative or friend or child is not easy to distinguish, and it may cause heartburn. But I think it's very important for business families, any scale, MSME, very big, whatever it may be, to set this upfront and clarify this upfront very early in the day, that the business is going to be run on merit. The shareholding is different from the management of the business. You can give shareholding by virtue of birth. So, Mr. XYZ owns a company, he has 4 children, he will give them all 25% each, or whatever ratio he wants to give. That's fine. But doesn't mean all 4 of them are going to run the company. The company will be run by either any one of the 4 or more than one of the 4 who is capable of running the company, has the merit, or maybe a person from outside who's capable of running the company and growing the company.
So we have about 36 million MSMEs in India at the moment, and a majority of them are family run. So you're saying it is possible to be family owned but professionally run. Okay, let's talk then about, you were talking about HR related challenges earlier, and you were saying how crucial it is for the owner to lead by example. Even as we're talking about succession planning, how important or how crucial is it really for this culture to percolate down to the lower levels of the company, and how does one do that?
I think you lead by example. So I think whoever is managing the company, and I don't want to say that the owners have to work hard, because if they are not in management, then that's a different case. But whoever is managing the company has to lead by example. It's a question of hard work, putting in the time to understand complex issues, taking the time to reach out to your employees and making sure that they feel heard and valued. And if you value people and you showcase that you are doing the best you can, then I think it's very much possible to expect and demand that from your people.
Abhishek, thank you very much for speaking with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. We've been talking about real estate for you, the MSME entrepreneur. If you have any queries about any aspect of your business, do remember you can write in to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can personally tweet at me at Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or call us on that number you see on your screen. We promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.